Forget gurus. Forget anyone claiming to be an online business expert without going through the challenges of entrepreneurship themselves. The Real Money, Real Business podcast is here to prove the best insights in online business comes from your fellow online business builders. We dig into stories of entrepreneurs selling their business on the Empire Flippers marketplace so that you can learn how they made their business profitable, how they overcame obstacles, and what lessons they learned in their online journey. If you want to take your business and your knowledge to the next level, you've come to the right podcast. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Real Money, Real Business podcast. I'm Lauren, and today we have Celinda on the show who's selling an Amazon FBA business on the Empire Flippers marketplace. Hey Celinda, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing well. I'm glad to be here.
Wonderful. Really glad to have you on the show. Really excited to learn more about your business. It certainly sounds like an interesting one. But before we dive in, I'm going to give the listeners a brief summary of the business. This is an Amazon FBA, e-commerce, wholesale, and Amazon KDP business. It was created in June 2018, and it's in the art and hobbies niches. The average revenue for the business is $54,028 per month, and it makes an average of $23,137 per month in net profit. The assets included with the business are an Amazon Seller Central account with 5 FBA SKUs and 8 FBM SKUs, a Shopify account, a Walmart account, a Wish.com account, supplier relationships, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, and LinkedIn social media accounts, trademarks, an email list with 5,132 subscribers, a primary domain and all site content and files, as well as secondary domains and a 301 redirect. Please note that inventory is not normally included in the list price, but further details can be provided to verified unlockers. For everyone listening, you can visit empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing number 61807 to learn more about this business. Or you can unlock this listing to start your due diligence if you're interested in purchasing this asset. So now that we know more about the business, let's hear from the seller. Celinda, can you fill us in on your background in starting and running online businesses?
Yes, I'm actually self-taught. We purchased this business in 2018. And at that point, I had never done anything online, e-commerce, but the business was something that interested me and I was up for the challenge. And so we purchased it and I learned on the fly as I went along.
Yeah, I'm sure that was quite a steep learning curve, but you've certainly come out the other side with a lot of success. When you were looking for a business to buy, were you aiming for an FBA business specifically?
No, I was in a transition from an old job and mutual acquaintance introduced me to the previous owner of the business. And it just came along with the business. It wasn't necessarily something I was targeting.
Okay, wonderful. So majority an Amazon FBA business, but there are a couple of other revenue streams that are built in. Can you walk our listeners through the various ways that the business makes money?
Yes, the majority of the sales are FBA, but we also have a website and we also have some wholesale customers as well.
Okay, fantastic. Well, the business has come a long way under your management. What are the reasons that you've decided to sell the business now?
As big as it's gone and as much as I have to learn in the e-commerce realm, it has taken my time and I purchased the business because of the niche and the creativity I could put forward. But now it's turned into just learning how to grow the business and more on that side of things. And so I would like to sell it so that I could go back to the creative side that I started with.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. Looking back over your journey with this business, what would you say was your biggest win since starting the business?
The biggest win would be turning the business into a household name. It's actually even become a verb. And so that it's very well known and it's made it very defensible.
Yeah, that's definitely a huge win. To become the product known for this hobby is huge. What would you say was your biggest setback or challenge?
The biggest challenge has been the international commerce side of it. It had FBA accounts in Europe, and then with laws changing and all that has been a really challenge to keep up with it for me and not knowing much about that. So that has been the steepest learning curve that I've had to overcome.
Yeah, absolutely. So that forced you to stop selling in those countries?
In some of the countries, yes. In others, they were a little bit easier to navigate. And so we continued in other countries.
Okay, great. So when it comes to generating traffic for the business, are you using PPC or SEO to drive traffic to your products?
Yes, mainly it's PPC. I'm trying to optimize the SEO, but I'm not familiar with that. So I've done mainly just the ads, and I do the marketing myself.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you do all of that yourself or do you enlist the help of agencies to help you with that?
No, I've done it all myself and just learned how to do it.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So you mentioned you do marketing as well. What sort of marketing campaigns are you running?
We run mainly on social media. So we have Facebook ads mainly. We've tried other social media, but we just do a lot of user generated content, which has produced a lot of our traffic that way.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Definitely a lot of value there. What would you see as the major opportunities for growth with your business?
There is a huge opportunity in the international markets. As I had mentioned earlier, there were some things that were beyond my capabilities, so I had pulled back some. And so someone with that kind of knowledge could easily go back into those countries and expand there, as well as other countries that we weren't in initially that could be opened up in a new marketplace. There are many parts of the world that the niche is very popular, even more so than in the US.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely the sort of product that can be popular worldwide, and there's definitely a lot of room for expansion there. With that in mind, can you walk us through what your supply chain looks like?
Yeah, the majority of our suppliers are in the US. We have a couple that are international. And so we do the assembling of some of our products ourselves. And when I say we, it's my husband and we work out of our home. And so the suppliers are supplying manufacturing the different parts, which we also sell as individual SKUs. But for our main product, we have those shipped in. We ship those by air for the ones that are overseas, mainly due to COVID and the freight for sea was just all those issues. And so it was easier to do it by air. So we have those parts, they come in, and then we assemble them, and then we ship them off to either FBA or direct to the customers.
Okay, great. Yeah. So you mentioned that you ship by air because of all the problems that have been happening with shipping by sea. Have you always shipped by air, or was that an adjustment you had to make?
We had always shipped by air because that's how it was when we got the business. I had actually looked into doing it by sea because it would be cheaper. And then COVID came. So we didn't make any change.
Yeah, COVID was awful timing on that regard. So, how many suppliers do you have in total?
We have 6 different suppliers. And then we do have 6 main suppliers, and we do have one more supplier that we found in the US. So the whole product could be made in the US because we have one that's kind of our backup now, since during COVID, the international shipping and everything shut down.
Yeah. And how long does it usually take to replenish your inventory?
Depending on the SKU, it can take 3 to 8 months to get those products in. We keep a number on hand at our home. And so when the FBA inventory needs to be replenished, we can easily and quickly send that off. But as far as getting all the parts to assemble the product, it could take 3 to 8 months depending on what you're trying to order.
Okay, yeah. So, how does it work shipping to Amazon itself and shipping to your FBM customers?
Yeah, FBA, we just use the Amazon shipping for replenishing the inventory as far as the US goes. For the other Amazon FBA, we would ship just FedEx from our home. And then shipping to customers, we actually can offer 2-day shipping via FedEx. So their orders get in really fast.
Yeah, that's great. And do you know what your current inventory limits are at Amazon warehouses?
We currently don't have any inventory limits. We had very strict inventory limits during COVID, and they have relaxed them since till now that we don't have any.
Oh, wonderful. That's really great. So, Linda, what does a typical work week look like for you when running this business? How many hours do you spend on it? And what sort of activities take up your time?
Yeah, I spend typically 5 to 10 hours a week, and that would include the assembling of the products, which that in itself would only take 5 to 10 hours a month. So we just split that up and do a little bit at a time throughout the month to keep our inventory up. The rest of the time would be shipping any FBM orders or website orders, checking inventory levels, optimizing ads, working on the SEO, checking in with my VA to see if there's anything else that I need to do.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. You mentioned that you do have a VA. What sort of activities does she do to help maintain the business?
She takes care of most of the day-to-day, the customer service, any emails or inquiries that come in. She does the social media postings, printing shipping labels, creating email campaigns, VAT filings, and other similar administrative things.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah. So, with all of that in mind, it sounds like you've got some good systems and processes in place. What do you think the biggest challenge will be for a buyer when taking over this business?
I think the biggest challenge will be navigating the inventory management with the lead times and shipping. Some of that is still fluctuating, and it does take quite a bit of monitoring to make sure that your inventory stays so you don't have any outages.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a very important part of the business as well. How much support are you willing to offer the buyer to help guide them through these challenges?
I'm willing 30 days email support and 2 Skype calls. There would be a possibility for ongoing support for maybe up to a year, just because I know there's those like the inventory stuff and the ins and outs. I know when I bought the business, it took longer than 30 days to kind of get a handle on that. So it could be negotiated.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, I think buyers will find that very helpful. As you say, it's the sort of thing that just comes with time, learning these challenges as you go. When it comes time to actually sell the business, are you open to negotiating something like an earnout?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. And would you commit to a non-compete agreement?
Yes, I would. I do want to continue teaching and creating in the niche, but I won't be selling any products that would compete with the business.
Okay, perfect. Well, Celinda, as you mentioned, this is your first foray into the online business world. What advice would you give to our listeners that you wish you knew when you first started?
Just take it a little at a time. There's a lot of things that you can do, and just set a plan and a reasonable time frame for you, and then just plug away, and it will grow and you will be able to do all those things, but just focus on one at a time so you don't get distracted.
That's excellent advice. It can certainly be overwhelming in the beginning, so taking it one step at a time is fantastic advice. Well, that leads us into the final question of the interview, and the one that I think buyers will be listening most closely to. If you had to put yourself into the shoes of a buyer, why do you think your business is a business worth buying?
It is a very strong and stable brand. Like I said, I purchased the business in 2018, but the business itself is actually 22 years old. So it has been around a long time. It has that track record of stability. It's very defensible because it's a household name and even a verb. The margins are good. And then the niche it's in is not going away either. And so it will be around. It's not just a fad.
Yeah, that's definitely a very strong point. Not a lot of businesses have been around that long and have that much of a foothold in the niche. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with our listeners that I might have missed?
I don't think so. Can't think of anything.
Okay, perfect. Well, thanks again so much for coming onto the show and giving us a bit more insight into you and your business. It certainly sounds like a very intriguing one that buyers will be very interested in. So thanks again for taking the time out of your day to be here.
Thank you for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. To learn more and see if this listing has already been sold, head over to empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing number 61807. If you're watching this on YouTube, click the link in the description to go straight to the listing. Once you've unlocked this listing, you'll be given everything you need to know about this business. So until next time, enjoy your digital journey.